It's Voice of the Caribbean. 102.1 Shaggy on your dial, Wicked and Wild. I made them know that. Yeah.
Yeah, me I send them on a Ragging King. I represent the man for the Voice of the Caribbean, in the man. At the wickedest and the baddest radio station.
It's Old School Throwback Thursdays on WZOP, WZPP Radio.
Yes, good afternoon and welcome, y'all. Some Old School Throwback Thursday energy. Wagwan. It's Suzette Speaks live in the studio here at Voice of the Caribbean. I love this type of music. Let me tell you, Old School Thursdays is my jam. Y'all know my favorite day, though, is Fire Friday. But yes, welcome one and all. How we doing? It's Suzette Speaks, your hostess with the mostest here on Voice of the Caribbean. You know we are here to edutain you, inform you, keep you abreast of everything that's going on in and around the community as well as nationally. We're going to talk about some of the headlines today. Of course, I'm going to keep my foot on the neck, as the young people say, when it comes to Alligator Alcatraz, so-called Alligator Alcatraz, what they're calling this detention center here in the middle of the Everglades. I just have a new report on my desk that's coming from a source, Talking Points Memo, talking about some of the disaster preparedness funds that have been used in the construction of Alligator Alcatraz that are supposed to be or were relocated or reallocated from disaster resources. Remember, we are now in hurricane season here in South Florida. Those of us who grew up down here, we know all too well how important disaster relief is to us as the national government is seeing changes in its disaster relief program, FEMA, of course, Federal Emergency Management, as well as programs on the local level. I thought you would find it very interesting based on what I'm reading in this report. This is again coming from talkingpointsmemo.com, an online source that is talking about their research into the funds used by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and what those funds were diverted from. Right? What they should have been used for or how they've been reallocated. I'm also going to play a couple of clips for you when it comes to all the talk. I know everybody, first of all, everybody's talking about Epstein and the divisiveness in the Republican base, right? Donald Trump and many others have been talking about Mr. Jeffrey Epstein, the now deceased Mr. Jeffrey Epstein's case for so many years, telling people how terrible this gentleman was, having been convicted on certain crimes. There was always talk of a client list. And again, if you have not been paying attention, Mr. Jeffrey Epstein died in prison. According to the feds, it was that he took his own life. But there are many now who question whether that is true. And federal officials, including Pam Bondi and many others in the Trump administration, have kind of been tripping over their own words and their own promises when it comes to what happened to Jeffrey Epstein and where is his so-called client list, other rich and famous people who likely, again, allegedly, we haven't seen a list because now they're telling people there is no list, right? Likely or allegedly would have participated in some illicit activities, right? So there's a little dust up, I should say, even getting much bigger. It's not little anymore. More and more people, especially on Trump's side, right? Part of Trump's base are now very upset about where the information about Jeffrey Epstein and who he was friendly with, who partook of this, wild lifestyle and all the possibly illegal things that went along with it. There are folks that are very upset and are not taking the Trump administration's word for what happened to Mr. Epstein and if there's anybody else implicated. So many people are also questioning whether there are other very high profile people who are associated possibly with Mr. Epstein as to the reason being behind why they're not releasing more information. But it's been a big nothing burger. That's what we would say. Nothing burger. Oh, no, nothing to see here, y'all. Move on. There's nothing here. Go on about your business. Mr. Trump is telling his base and telling America. But is that enough? And I keep having conversations with my friends in legal circles and everyday people right? This is your community station. If you have an opinion or if you want me to keep talking about Epstein, give me a call. 850-446-0562 gets you right in touch. Again, I'm a local attorney here in South Florida. I serve the people by way of personal injury law, right? If you get in an accident, if you get hurt, if someone dies or is, fatally injured on their job or in the hospital, I can help you. But when it comes to these type of federal crimes, so many people are interested in the possibility of there being a possible ring of people who are connected on so many various levels. And again, within the conspiracy theorist world, that's what many were told over and over again, even by people who are now serving inside the Trump administration. The now FBI director, Mr. Kash Patel, has been one who has talked about it prior to coming into serve in the federal government in his role. He talked about it at length about this list, Jeffrey Epstein's list. But I want to wait and see, because I want to know if this has enough there to keep people interested and at odds with the president. I also wanted to talk about, like I said, Alligator Alcatraz is on my mind because from what we saw from the tour that took place this past Saturday. If you're just tuning in, welcome. It's the Suzette Speaks Show. I come to you live right here on Voice of the Caribbean every Thursday and Friday. I bring you hot topics, social media trends, and news you can use. And of course, we have to keep you up to date with what's happening in the federal government here in the United States. There are always so many changes. It's hard to keep track of. So I try to, help you pick and choose what is very important. But a lot of folks have been following the Jeffrey Epstein case for years. I see you online. Welcome everybody watching me on the Suzette Speaks YouTube. If you're watching me on the app, just know that Voice of the Caribbean is also an app in the App Store, right? Go to the App Store. You can download us and take us wherever you go. But, I want to say hello to everybody listening. Big up everybody who's going to have a great weekend. We have some shows and some parties coming up this weekend. July 19th, it's the Great Juggling Showcase. I'm really excited about this. Rory Stone loved David Rodigan. King Waggity, Jaworks, Dynamic will be performing at the Charles R. Dodge Center. That's in Pembroke Pines. That's going to be on Saturday. And tickets are only $45. This is like an old school sound clash. Let's go. We will be in the building. Voice of the Caribbean will be there. But that's Saturday, July 19th. And there's limited tickets also that you can watch online. They're selling for $9.99. If you want to watch this sound clash, this epic song clash online, caribflix.com. Caribflix, that's FLIXS, caribflix.com. You also can check it out there. Very exciting stuff. Of course, Independence Weekend is coming up for those who celebrate in the diaspora. Of course, Jamaican Independence is coming up August. Let's go. We have the I Am Legend concert. That's going to be August 3rd at the Luxurious Banquet Hall, Luxurious Hall in Lauderdale. Yes, that's August 3rd, featuring The Angel, Ziggy Rankin, Cargo. I also know that weekend we'll be having Solid as a Rock. Boy, my DJ Sizzla will be here. Him alongside Itana, the Strong One, Lady G, Hal Anthony, Admiral Tibet will be on a show called Solid as a Rock. Also celebrating. Lauderhill got a lot going on. Lauderhill, what's up? Yes, that will be at the Lauderhill Performing Arts Center. I also will be participating in a Sunday also. There's a party called the Y2K. It's an old school party. I'll be in the building featuring Baby Sham this Sunday. That's going to be at Miramar Amphitheater. I'll be outside. Let's go. We outside getting ready for independence celebrations all around the diaspora here this summer, right? We got a lot to give thanks for. But I do want to play you some of what is being said about the Alligator Alcatraz. We're not going to forget those human beings that are in the middle of the Everglades, literally in cages. If you have looked at any of the pictures, it's a big old steel looking cage with dozens of beds inside, stacked almost like bunk bed fashion. Inside the building is a cage. So the building itself is not like its own self-contained prison. You have walls, I could say, building that has kind of been thrown up. They said that the Alligator Alcatraz was built in 8 days, less than 2 weeks. And within it is cages. And what the lawmakers who took a tour this past Saturday, they were invited finally, even though they are arguing in a lawsuit. This is the Florida Democratic legislators who were elected from, Tampa, from Jacksonville, from Orlando, from Miami. They've all come together suing the DeSantis administration saying that they have a right by Florida law to visit any correctional facility that is run by the state, municipal, local governments at any time. And this Alligator Alcatraz is being run by the state, right? It's not ICE that is fully administrating it. It is the state of Florida. So they were denied. Those Florida representatives that are from all over the state went out there just about a week and a half ago. They were denied entrance. And then last Saturday, they were given an official quote unquote tour. I'm going to play some comments from Congressman Maxwell Frost in just a moment, talking about what he saw, right? And online, you can see a lot of depictions of what's happening there. Some of the phone calls of individuals who are being held there have been released. They've gotten phones talking about the dire need that there's only one meal a day being served allegedly to the detainees, that there's no running water, they're not allowed to bathe. We're talking about human beings not allowed to brush their teeth or don't have the facilities to do so. They are staying in a cage, and it's 24 hours, lighting. It's not darkened in the evening, per our circadian rhythms, right? They have 24-hour indoor lighting, like you cannot sleep. So there are folks who are very much uneasy, about seeing what they saw. I'm going to play a little bit of Chevron Jones, as a senator, Florida state senator from here in Miami. He's talking about what he saw, the individuals who were shackled. State Representative Dottie Joseph, also representing parts of Miami, I think North Miami, talked about how most of the detainees that are currently in Alligator Alcatraz that she could see from the tour look like younger Hispanic males, and that the conditions did not seem to warrant, it wasn't safe for folks to be out there without what it appears to be, as the detainees were yelling out to them, freedom, freedom, help us in Spanish and in English, that it was an adequate setting in the middle of the Everglades behind barbed wire, where it's prone to flooding, prone to lots of heat, that we were keeping human beings under such, conditions. So there's a lot of concern there. I also want to tell you about my day yesterday. What's up, everybody watching online? Shout out to everybody checking me out on the app. Suzette Speaks Show, like I say, Thursday and Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. What up? We're going to be with you talking hot topics today. But I also wanted to talk about my day yesterday. I had to go to the DMV, y'all. I had to go get my license renewed. Now, if you do not have a license with a star on it, right? They put into practice, this was post 9/11, but it has been law for a while, that people must have the new license IDs, and the star on the top right will tell the people who pull you over, police officers or others who are using your identification, whether you're a citizen or not. But I went in. I thought it's something I could do on my lunch hour. I had an appointment. First of all, I was late, well past my birthday, and I couldn't get an appointment. So I had to pay a late fee for not being able to get an appointment within the adequate time. And then on top of that, I had a 12 p.m. appointment, and I had to go, I think it was like 4 different lines. Now, I don't know if the DMV is the DMV everywhere, whether you're in Miami, whether you're up in Broward, whether you're in Palm Beach, or the rest of our listening areas around the world, around the country and around the world. How is your Department of Motor Vehicles? Because I thought, wow, the amount of paperwork I had to bring to prove who I was, right? With the new IDs, you cannot simply, order a replacement if you haven't proven your status. So in this renewal, I had to bring my passport. I couldn't find my Social Security card. I had to go and find a W-2 stub. I had to find, proof of residency of all kinds. I'd like, not only myself, but everybody who was with me looking around. Everybody had a bag of envelopes trying to prove they are citizens and that they are permanent residents and that they live where they live. And it was just very eye-opening. I said, boy, the DMV today feel like a subway station around here. It was packed, y'all. Thankfully, the appointment, all it did was get me inside out of the sun, because the line was wrapped around the building, and I at least got to wait my first half hour inside. That is, the appointment line was a half hour. An initial person checked my documents at the counter. There were people coming in also just trying to take the driving test. There were people that were trying to, obtain their license for the first time. And of course, like myself, replace, renew, all of these things going on. So you went from one counter, stood up for 30 minutes, and then sat down. Sat for an hour, stood up again, showed my proof of identification and all my bag of mails and bills that were there to, it was so nerve-wracking. I saw people looking around, and there are people who are like, no, you can't use your lease. Your landlord, or if you're not the only person on the lease, your landlord has to put an affidavit together. I was listening to everybody's conversation. I'm a very observant person, just in general. As an attorney, too, I'm just listening as to what's happening around me. And people who don't have enough documentation. And one lady beside me who I would guess, probably from her name Paola, being the Portuguese spelling of Paula, being most likely Brazilian or Brazilian American. She was like, girl, they sent me home 2 times. I said, what time was your appointment? This time it was like 2:00. Mine was at 12. She's like, girl, mine was at 11. I said, you were still here? Maybe I shouldn't complain about my 2.5 hours. Because she was still there from 11, and she said, no, I had to go. They gave me a ticket, go to my car, get back another document, go all the way home, get another document. She said, girl, I try to look cute like you, but my makeup already sweat off. I don't care. I just want them to give me the license. Like, this is a whole process. Have any of you gone through this? Because I was asking around, my friends, I guess, they have lost their driver's license multiple times. So when they mailed or they requested one by mail in the past, they were just able to get it replaced in the mail. So here I am. I waited all the way to my expiration. And I guess I had like maybe 10 years right after the true ID or real ID laws had gone into effect. So I had to go through the whole entire process. Has any of you experienced this? 850-446-0562. Get you right in touch right here on Voice of the Caribbean. I'm just warning you. Don't think I thought I was going to be in and out the DMV in an hour. Yeah? No. Nope. Wishful thinking, Sue. Wishful thinking. No, man. You have to pack your patience, because I got up and sat down in 4 different lines. So after I got back up to the re-verification of my document with a lady, the first lady had already taken, that got me in a seat in the back to wait for an individual to take my new picture, recheck, and they scanned your documents. I'm like, they have my insurance stuff scanned? They have my W-2 scanned at the DMV? And then my W-2 didn't have my social fully, so I had to sign another affidavit, like another document attesting to what my social was. I was just glad they didn't send me home. I say, thank you, God, that I even got a license renewed. Because on this insurance, this and this and that, I was like, this is a lot. And there are going to be people who struggle with this and getting a license, and you need your ID. Now, one thing I did like is that at every point of the renewal, they were asking, did I want to update my voter registration? I appreciated that, because a lot of times when people do change their addresses or renew their driver's license, move to a new place, that's the most, that's a very common reason as to why people have to renew their driver's license. They don't think about where they're registered to vote until the election comes. So it was to me, it took a little bit of optimism from the experience, saying, okay, at least trying to get people registered where they're living now. After you getting your license, brand new one or renewal, right? Or change of insurance or whatever you're going there for, at least they're trying to get you into the political process, right? The civic process, your civic duty. And by registering to vote, that's also where we get the pool of people who serve on our juries. It's super important. The driver's license database is where the people who serve on juries in court cases come from. So registering to vote is a very important step. Not just the driver's license, but the people who are registered to vote as well. So yeah, I had a 2.5 hour ordeal. I don't know about you guys. I was listening and talking to my dad. He was like, oh, with your appointment, it should have been easy. When I got my appointment, it was easy. It was easy. I was like, maybe I picked the wrong day. Maybe it's the summer and people are off work, or, all kinds of things impact what happens when we are, in these public offices, but this is the most diversity I've seen in a long time in one space as well. Welcome to South Florida. All different languages being spoken, all different, videos. People were sitting there bored. People were falling asleep, first of all, waiting on their number to be called. Please don't do that at the DMV. Several people missed their number and they had to go back to the first line and get back the first ticket to come back and wait another. Oh, I felt so bad for them. No, baby, I was awake and alert. And then I went in the checkout line. That was another line. You have to stand up and pay. And then I went in the last line, which was to collect your new driver's license and ID, which was a whole nother line. Anyway, more about that experience when we get back. We got to take a quick pause for the cause. I appreciate you watching. Appreciate you listening. Don't go anywhere. Much more Suzette Speaks show right after this.
The voice of the Caribbean. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, and YouTube.